Good evening. Good morning, one and all. Welcome you all to the International Conference on Diabetes, Antibiotics, Tolerance, Wednesday, Philosophy, Sanitation, Road Traffic Victims, Children, Health, Well-being, Education, Employment, Environment, and Sustainable Development 2022. Commemorating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, nation celebrating 75 years of independence, UN Sustainable Development Goals (SDGs) 2015-2030 as part of awareness and campaigns, and also international webinar series on holistic health, well-being, and sustainable development 2022 in collaboration with Sri Holistic Health Foundation India, Sri Research Institute, and Center for Art, Sciences, and Well-being. Today, apart from this regular commemorations, we are also commemorating World Antibiotics Awareness Week, World Diabetes Day, Day of 8 Billion, International Day for Tolerance, World Philosophy Day, World Toilet Day, World Day of Remembrance for Road Traffic Victims, American Industrialization, African Industrialization Day, and World Children's Day, and World Television Day. So before we start our sessions, let's take the blessings of Almighty.
कुरु त्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरु त्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शत्रुबुद्धिविनाशाय दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तु ते दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तु ते शुभं कुरु त्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरु त्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः.
With the blessings of Almighty, we shall continue with today's sessions and commemorations. We are also commemorating International Men's Day, which is being commemorated on November 18th. So International Men's Day is a global commemoration holiday and a celebration day annually on November 19th to recognize and celebrate the cultural, political, socio-economical achievements of men. The objectives of celebrating an International Men's Day are set out in all the 6 pillars of the International Men's Day. It is an occasion to celebrate boys' and men's lives, achievements, and contributions, in particular for their contributions to the nation, to the society, community, family, marriage, and child care, and various other across the lifespan. The broader and ultimate aim of the event is to promote basic awareness towards men's issues and towards men's contribution to the overall development. Unlike International Women's Day, which is celebrated on 8th March, International Men's Day is yet to be officially recognized by the United Nations and inaugurated on 7th February 1992 by Thomas Oster. The project of International Men's Day was conceived 1 year earlier on 8th February 1991. The project was reinitialized in 1999 in Trinidad and Tobago. The longest running celebration of International Men's Day is Malta, where events have occurred since 7th February 1994, as Malta was the only country that observed the February date of celebrating men and their contribution to the society. The Maltese AMR Committee voted in 2009 to shift the date for IMD to 19th November. Jerome Tilakshing, who revisited the event, chose 19th November to honor his father's birthday and also to celebrate how on the day in 1989 Trinidad and Tobago's football team had united the country with their endeavors to qualify for the World Cup. Tilak Singh has promoted International Men's Day as not just as a gender day, but a day where all issues affecting men and boys can be addressed, he said of IMD and its grassroots activists. They are striving for gender equality and patiently attempt to remove the negative images and the stigma associated with the men in our society. So calls for an International Men's Day have been noted since at least the 1960s, when many men were reported to have been agitating privately to make 23rd February International Men's Day the equivalent of 8th March, which is International Women's Day. In the Soviet Union, this day was the Red Army and Navy Day since 1922, which in 2022 was renamed to Defender of the Father's Land Day. So the date was informally viewed a male counterpart of Women's Day, 8th March, in some territories of the Union. However, due to the day's limited focus on historical events, some countries of the former Union have moved to adopt more male specific 19th November as International Men's Day, including Belarus, Ukraine, Moldova, Russia, and Georgia. In 1968, the American journalist John P. Harris wrote an editorial in the Salina Journal highlighting a lack of balance in the Soviet system, which promoted an International Women's Day for the female workers without promoting a corresponding day for male workers. Harris started that although he did not bequeath Soviet women their March Day of glory, its resulting gender inequality clearly exhibited a serious flaw in the commuting system, which makes much of the equal rights it has given both the sexes, but it turns out the women are much more equal than the men. Harris stated that while the men toiled along in their grooves, doing what their government and womenfolk tell them to do, there was no day when males were recognized for their service, leading Harris to conclude that this strikes me as unwarranted discrimination and rank injustice. Similar questions about the inequality of observing Women's Day without a corresponding Men's Day occurred in media publications from the 1960s through the 1990s, at which the first attempts at inaugurating International Men's Day are recorded. In the early 1990s, organizations in the United Nations, United States, Australia, Malta held small events in February at the invitation of Thomas Oster, who directed the Missouri Center for Men's Studies at the University of Missouri, Kansas City. Oster successfully promoted the event in 1993 and 1994, but his following attempt in 1995 was poorly attended and he ceased plans to continue the event in subsequent years. Australians also ceased to observe the event until they re-established it on 19th November 2003, while the Maltese Association for Men's Rights continued as the only country that continued to observe the event each year in February, formerly being the only country still observing the original February date. The Maltese AMR Committee voted in 2009 to begin observing the day on 19th November in order to be synchronized with the rest of the world. Although International Men's and Women's Day are considered to be gender focused events, they are not ideological mirror images because they highlight issues that are considered unique to men or to women. The history of IMD primarily concerns celebrating issues that are considered unique to the experiences of men and boys, along with an emphasis on positive role models, which is especially deemed necessary in a social context, which is often fascinated with images of males behaving badly. In highlighting positive male role models, IMD attempts to show that males of all ages respond much more energetically to positive role models than they do to negative stereotyping. So, International Men's Day objectives are the six pillars to promote positive male role models, not just movie stars and sportsmen, but everyday working class men who are living decent and honest lives, to celebrate men's positive contributions to the society, community, family, marriage, childcare, and the environment, to focus on men's health and well being, social, emotional, physical, and spiritual, to highlight discrimination against men in areas of social services, social attitudes and expectations, and law, to improve gender relations and promote gender equality, to create a safer, better world where people can be safe and grow to reach their fullest potential. So, as well as the six pillars, an optional secondary theme for IMD has been usually suggested by world coordinators, such as peace in 2022, men's health in 2003, uh, sorry, uh, such as peace in 2002, men's health in 2003, healing and forgiveness in 2007, positive male role models in 2009, and our children in future in 2010. Later on, the themes were in 2011, giving boys the best possible start in life. In 2012, helping men and boys live longer, happier, and healthier lives. 2013, keeping men and boys safe. 2014, working together for men and boys. 2015, working to expand reproductive options for men. 2016, stop male suicide. In every country except China, the rate of suicide in men is higher than that of women. In some cases, as high as 6 men for every 1 woman, and the life expectancy is routinely less for men than women in all the countries. To end this global action on men's health, GAMH wants the World Health Organization and other international public health bodies, as well as individual governments, to acknowledge the scale of problems facing men and boys, to take sustained action to tackle them. This work shouldn't sit alongside continuing action to improve the health of women and girls. 2017, the theme was celebrating men and boys in all their diversity. The emphasis on call of call to action for individuals, institutions, and organizations to innovate the manner in which they design and deliver resources and support services which speak to the unique needs and issues of men and boys. In 2018, with the theme Positive Male Role Models. In 2019, the theme was Making a Difference for Men and Boys. In 2030, the theme was Better Health for Men and Boys. In 2021, Better Relations between Men and Women. In 2022, Helping Men and Boys. In Australia, celebrating mateship with hashtag Make Time for Mates, men leading by example. So the global theme for 2022 is helping men and boys. In India, the inaugural celebration of International Men's Day was organized by leading Indian men's rights organization, Indian Family, on 19th November 2007. The day of 19th November was accepted based on the fact that Australia and West Indies, Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago were already observing IMD on that date. The event was again celebrated in India in 2008, and plans were made to continue the celebration annually. In 2009, India received the first corporate sponsorship for the International Men's Day with the menswear brand Alan Solly deciding to create promotional offers on International Men's Day, and HBO deciding to screen male positive movies in its Men in Black series on 19th November. In 2014, Confidere Education Consultancy hosted an International Men's Day art gallery in New Delhi, while in Kolkata, protests were held to highlight men's rights and abuse of the elderly. Others, men's rights activists, posed questions on the occasion of International Men's Day, questioning the lack of gender neutrality in laws about domestic violence and child custody. The Chennai chapter of All India Men's Welfare Association, in short AIMWA, submitted a memorandum to the government on International Men's Day 2014, demanding the establishment of a men's welfare ministry, National Commission for Men, and making all laws gender neutral. In 2018, Ajwain, a welfare and charitable trust for men, organized a protest in Kolkata to demand gender neutrality in law. A men's commission in India, repealing of Section 498A of the Indian Penal Code, and strong action against misuse of rape law. Save Indian Family Karnataka, SIF Karnataka, an NGO working for men's rights in India under Save India Family Movement, celebrates International Men's Day every year. In 2019, in association with the two major hospitals of Bangalore, Aster Hospitals and Regal Hospitals, it ran a Hash Healthy Him campaign on prostate cancer awareness in 2017 and 2018. Among many other awareness activities, the volunteers organized a bank rally to Nandi Hills, India, and celebrated International Men's Day with more than 40,000 people present. So, Daman Welfare Society and Trust, other prominent NGO working on the same principles under the Save Indian Family Movement, also celebrates International Men's Day every year. In 2019, it hosted a day-long grand event at the Rave 3 Mall in Kanpur and created awareness on the International Men's Day. The need for National Men's Commission was also discussed. So, in various countries across the globe, the need for International Men's Day and the gender neutrality laws are on prime focus on this day, especially. A lot of debates and discussions were also organized to raise awareness. Not only that, even our organizations, Sri Holistic Health Foundation India and Sri Research Institute and Center for Arts and Sciences is also commemorating every year various events, including International Men's Day, to promote men's rights and men's welfare. And we also have International Men's Health Week, which is celebrated in several countries the week preceding and including Father's Day to focus issues on facing men's health. International Men's Health Week began at the international level in 2022 when the representatives from 6 men's health organizations around the world met in a meeting organized by Men's Health Network at Second World Congress on Men's Health in Vienna, Austria, and resolved to work together to launch International Men's Health Week. So these are similar events which are closely related. And this meeting followed preliminary discussions in 2001 at the First World Congress on Men's Health about the need to coordinate awareness periods around the globe. So observers of International Mental Health Week are sometimes seen wearing a blue ribbon as a symbol of their support for the fight against prostate cancer. However, problems affecting men's health extend far beyond prostate cancer, and other commonly recognized men's illness. Physicians and men's health activists work mark IMHW with awareness campaigns to highlight additional health concerns such as diabetes, osteoporosis, family health, workplace accidents, and men's higher likelihood, likelihood of suicide or being a victim of homicide. So the European Men's Health Forum returned to Austria in 2005 to create the Vienna Declaration, which serves as a plan of action for improving the state of men's health. According to the Society for Men's Health and Gender, the five main points of Vienna Declaration are recognizing men's health is a critical issue and that there are health issues which only affect men, promoting awareness of men's approach to health, changing the way healthcare is provided to be more sensitive towards men's needs, and creating school and community programs which target boys and young men, and connecting health and social policies to better pursue men's health goals. So, as part of this International Mental Health Week, various awareness, prevention, education, family, and related programs were organized. So, wear blue for men's health. So, with this, we shall
International Men's Day, November 19, celebrates positive male role models and the loving strength that men bring to their families and communities. We highlight the need to address the male suicide crisis, and we often campaign for improvement in men's health. This year, our theme is helping men and boys. Dr. Warren Farrell said, "Boys are declining in a dramatic way in virtually every key metric. That's what the boy crisis is all about." Cassie J said, "After years of researching and fact-checking, there is no denying that there are many human rights issues that disproportionately or uniquely affect men." Martin Luther King said, "I believe that unarmed truth and unconditional love will have the final word in reality." So, on November 19, wish everyone a happy International Men's Day.
In 2013, I decided to meet my enemies. I was a 27-year-old award-winning documentary filmmaker and a proud feminist, and I was determined to expose the dark underbelly of the men's rights movement. At that point, all I knew of the men's rights movement was from what I read online, that it's a misogynistic hate group actively working against women's equality. While the vast majority of my previous work was about women's issues, I directed documentaries about reproductive rights, single motherhood, and the need for more girls to get into STEM education. So when I learned that no one had ever documented the men's rights movement in a film before, I saw it as an opportunity to continue fighting for women's equality by exposing those preventing it. So for 1 year, I traveled North America, meeting the leaders and followers of the men's rights movement. I spent anywhere from 2 hours up to 8 hours interviewing each individual men's rights activist, also known as MRA. And I filmed 44 people total. And there's an important rule in documentary filmmaking. As an interviewer, you do not interrupt. So I'm asking questions, and I'm getting their full life story. And in the moment, I didn't realize it. But now looking back, I can see that while I was conducting my interviews, I wasn't actually listening. I was hearing them speak, and I knew the cameras were recording. But in those moments of sitting across from my enemy, I wasn't listening. What was I doing? I was anticipating. I was waiting to hear a sentence, or even just a couple of words in succession that proved what I wanted to believe, that I had found the misogynists, the ground zero of the war on women. A couple of times I thought I had it. There was one men's rights activist that said to me, "Just walk outside and look around. Everything you see was built by a man." Ooh, his statement felt anti-women. I felt my jaw clench, but I sat quietly, as a documentarian should, while removing all the space between my upper and lower molars. After my year of filming, I was reviewing the 100 hours of footage I had gathered, replaying and transcribing it, which, believe me when I say, no one will ever listen to you more than someone who transcribes your words. You should write that down. So I was typing out every word meticulously, and through that process, I began to realize that my initial knee-jerk reactions to certain statements weren't really warranted, and my feeling offended didn't hold up to intense scrutiny. Was that statement about men having built the skyscrapers and the bridges anti-women? I thought, well, what would be the gender reverse scenario? Maybe a feminist saying, "Just look around. Everyone you see was birthed by a woman." Wow, that's a powerful statement. And it's true. Is it anti-male? I don't think so. I think it's acknowledging our unique and valued contributions to our society. Well, luckily, while I was making the Red Pill movie, I kept a video diary, which ended up tracking my evolving views. And in looking back on the 37 diaries I recorded that year, there was a common theme. I would often hear an innocent and valid point that a men's rights activist would make, but in my head, I would add on to their statement a sexist or anti-woman spin, assuming that's what they wanted to say but didn't. So here are two examples of how that would go. A men's rights activist in MRA would say to me, "There are over 2,000 domestic violence shelters for women in the United States, but only one for men. Yet multiple reputable studies show that men are just as likely to be abused." I would hear them say, "We don't need 2,000 shelters for women. They're all lying about being abused. It's all a scam." But in looking back on all the footage I'd gathered of men's rights activists talking about shelters, and all the blogs they've written and the video live streams they posted on YouTube, they're not trying to defund women's shelters, not at all. All they're saying is that men can be abused too, and they deserve care and compassion. Second example, a men's rights activist would say to me, "Where is justice for the man who was falsely accused of raping a woman? And because of this accusation, he loses his college scholarship and is branded with the inescapable title of rapist." I would hear them say, "A woman being raped isn't a big deal." It's as if I didn't hear the word falsely accused of rape. All I heard was he was accused of rape. Of course, rape is a big deal, and all the men's rights activists I met agreed it is a horrible thing to have happened to anyone. I eventually realized what they're saying is they're trying to add to the gender equality discussion who is standing up for the good-hearted, honorable man that loses his scholarship, his job, or worse yet, his children, because he's accused of something he absolutely did not do. Well, I couldn't keep denying the points they were making. There are real issues. But in my effort to avoid agreeing with my enemy completely, I changed from putting words in their mouth to acknowledging the issue, but insisting they are women's issues. So here are two examples of how that would go. A men's rights activist would say to me, "Men are far more likely to lose their child in a custody battle." And I would counter, well, because women are unfairly expected to be the caretaker, it's discrimination against women that women get custody more often. Yeah. I'm not proud of that. Second example, an MRA would say to me, "Men are roughly 78% of all suicides throughout the world." And I would counter with, "But women attempt suicide more often. So ha." Ha? It's not a contest, but I kept making it into one. Why couldn't I simply learn about men's issues and have compassion for male victims without jumping at the opportunity to insist that women are the real victims? Well, after years of researching and fact-checking what the men's rights activists were telling me, there is no denying that there are many human rights issues that uniquely or disproportionately affect men. Paternity fraud uniquely affects men. The United States Selective Service, in the case of a draft, still uniquely affects men. Workplace deaths, disproportionately men. War deaths, overwhelmingly men. Suicide, overwhelmingly men. Sentencing disparity, life expectancy, child custody, child support, false rape allegations, criminal court bias, misandry, failure to launch, boys falling behind in education, homelessness, veterans issues, infant male genital mutilation, lack of parental choice once a child is conceived, lack of resources for male victims of domestic violence. So many issues that are heartbreaking if you are the victim or you love someone who is the victim of any one of these issues. These are men's issues, and most people can't name one because they think, well, men have all the rights, they have all the power and privilege. But these issues deserve to be acknowledged. They deserve care, attention, and motivation for solutions. Before making the Red Pill movie, I was a feminist of about 10 years, and I thought I was well-versed on gender equality issues. But it wasn't until I met men's rights activists that I finally started to consider the other side of the gender equality equation. It doesn't mean I agreed with all that they said, but I saw the immense value in listening to them and trying to see the world through their eyes. I thought if I could get my audience to also listen to them, it could serve as a rung on the ladder, bringing us all up to a higher consciousness about gender equality. So in October 2016, the film was released in theaters, and articles and critic reviews started to roll in. And that's when I experienced how engaged the media is in groupthink around gender politics. And I learned a difficult lesson. When you start to humanize your enemy, you, in turn, may be dehumanized by your community. And that's what happened to me. Rather than debating the merit of the issues addressed in the film, I became the target of a smear campaign. And people who had never seen the movie protested outside the theater doors, chanting that it was harmful to women. It certainly is not. But I understand their mindset. If I never made this movie and I heard that there was a documentary screening about men's rights activists that didn't show them as monsters, I too would have protested the screenings or at least signed the petitions to ban the film, because I was told that they were my enemy. I was told that men's rights activists were against women's equality. But all the men's rights activists I met support women's rights and are simply asking the question, why doesn't our society care about men's rights? Well, the greatest challenge I faced through this whole process, it wasn't the protests against my film, and it wasn't how I was treated by the mainstream media, even though it got pretty disgusting at times. The greatest challenge I faced was peeling back the layers of my own bias. It turns out I did meet my enemy while filming. It was my ego saying that I was right and they were subhuman. It's no secret now that I no longer call myself a feminist, but I must clarify, I am not anti-feminist, and I am not a men's rights activist. I still support women's rights, and I now care about men's rights as well. However, I believe if we want to honestly discuss gender equality, we need to invite all voices to the table. Yet this is not what is happening. Men's groups are continually vilified, falsely referred to as hate groups, and their voices are systematically silenced. Do I think either movement has all the answers? No. Men's rights activists are not without flaws, and neither are feminists. But if one group is being silenced, that's a problem for all of us. If I could give advice to anyone in our society at large, we have to stop expecting to be offended, and we have to start truly, openly, and sincerely listening. That will lead to a greater understanding of ourselves and others, having compassion for one another, working together towards solutions, because we all are in this together. And once we do that, we can finally heal from the inside out. But it has to start with listening. Thank you for listening.
Thus, International Men's Day is an opportunity everywhere of goodwill to appreciate and the contribution they make to the society for the greater good of all. So men's rights or the men's rights activists are not against women's rights. Equality doesn't mean promoting any one gender or any particular gender in general, but treating equally all the genders with their respective rights. So, as already discussed before concluding, there are various challenges men face, a series of health challenges that needs to be addressed in order to have our communities function to their fullest potential. Current research tells us that men have a suicide rate 3 times higher than women. One in three men have been victims of domestic violence. Men, on an average, die 4 to 2 years before women. Men are nearly twice as likely to suffer from lung cancer than women, and men are nearly twice as likely to suffer from heart disease than women, and many more. So, on this International Men's Day, let's all together raise our voice towards men's rights along with women's rights and other gender rights. Let's take a pledge that we will truly work towards gender equality and have a dialogue on gender equality, irrespective of what the gender it is. It may be, you know, male or female or transgender or any gender for that matter. So, with this, we shall conclude the commemoration of International Men's Day, and we will move on to other commemorations. You can fill up the feedback form for the session one, and then we will move on to the next commemoration. Feedback is mandatory and is raised in the form of polls. Quickly fill up the feedback form. We have 5 minutes for the feedback. Dear friends, quickly fill up the feedback form. Feedback form has been raised in the form of polls. Those who have not registered yet for the conference can register even now. The registration link and the website for the conference has been shared in the chat box. Dear participants, quickly fill the feedback form for session 1, raised in the form of polls. It is not accessible outside Zoom platform. It is mandatory for everyone to track your attendance and participation for the conference. So quickly fill up the feedback form for session 1 so that we can move on to section 2. Dear friends, quickly fill up the feedback form. Once feedback is closed, we cannot reopen the feedback form. So quickly fill up the feedback form so that we can start the next session. The speakers who are presenting today, if available in the meeting, are requested to share your details, your topic, along with your brief introduction in the chat box by selecting the host so that we can invite you at appropriate time. The registration form shared in the chat box is for the conference. Those who have already filled can ignore. Those who have not yet filled the form can fill the registration form. That is a Google form, so you can fill it externally. But feedback form is within the Zoom platform. You can access the feedback form from your Zoom app by going through the polls option. And once closed, it cannot be opened. And we are providing you 5 minutes for the feedback form. We already crossed around 7 minutes. So we'll be closing now. So quickly fill up the feedback form. We'll be giving you 1 more minute. As soon as the feedback form is launched, quickly attend to the feedback form. Because once it is closed, we cannot relaunch the feedback form again. And do not worry if you skip any of the feedback forms. If you are attending the entire conference, you can fill one or other feedback form, but make sure you are giving your feedback so that the speakers and the organizers can also learn how the session went. So we're moving to our next session. We'll take up commemorations later on. We have our next session by Dr. Jyoti Makkar. She has a PG in clinical psychology, diploma in counseling and family therapy, and certificate in brain and behavior. And she would be presenting. On stress and anxiety among teens. Still many are yet to fill the feedback form. So quickly fill up the feedback form. So we invite Dr. Jyoti Makkar to take over for her session. And you can close the feedback window. Do not reopen or relaunch. You can ignore the window, feedback window, and you can continue with your session.
Very good afternoon to all. My topic of discussion is stress and anxiety in teens. Stress is a common problem amidst people of all ages, cultures, etc. By stress, we mean our body's way of coping with the day-to-day hassles, everyday hassles. It's a natural coping mechanism of the body. And there are two stress responses. It's a defense mechanism of the body whenever one is faced with a stressful situation. The situations which inculcate stress in a person are called stressful situations, and there are two defense mechanisms: fight or flight. Either face the situation or run away. Stress can be positive and negative. Positive stress is very helpful. It increases the overall functionality of the individual, and it is required. It is the need of the day-to-day life. And negative stress is very harmful, and it requires psychological interventions. Positive stress is called eustress. Negative stress is called distress. Positive stress is beneficial and negative stress is debilitating. And a situation which creates stressful situation, it could be any situation. If we place, everyone's body has a different way of responding to stress. Some may respond it in a positive way, some may respond in a negative way. If we place two individuals in the same situation and everything is same, but two of them, we will see that they will respond to stress in a different way. One may be very cool and one may panic. Now, adolescent and teenage is an age which is marked by various changes in the body. There are physical changes, there are psychological changes, there are social changes, there are emotional changes, there are behavioral changes, and is not free from stress. Now, what are the causes of stress in teens? There are various causes of stress in teens. It could be academic pressure in the school. It could be parental pressure. parents are putting too much stress on the child to fare well in the exams, secure good academic grades. So it could be family environment, it could be a cause of stress among children. It could be parental discords, it could be parental separation, and it could be peer influence. Sometimes peers also are cause of stress. So teenagers, they should be very cautious in choosing their company. Company should be good. And there are multiple causes. It could be world events, traumatic events, significant life changes, as there are transitional stages when a child passes through various transitional changes in life. Then also a person experiences stress. It could be social relationships with friends. It could be girlfriends, boyfriends, and issues of sex. All these cause stress in teens. It could be there are multiple causes. It could be some teenage girl, she is married at an early age. When she's in late adolescent period, late teen, she's married, and there is a change in her life circumstances. That could also be a cause of stress. It could be a child enters a new school and the habitat is totally different and a child is unable to cope up in that habitat. It could be various life challenges. It could be someone has to quit the school and has to pursue a job, some late teen. So that also could be a cause of stress. And it could be lack of sleep, too much pressure, too much burdens in life. Now, stress is characterized by multiple manifestations. What are those manifestations of stress? It could manifest in the form of, how do we come to know that the person is feeling stressed, distressed? When we use the word stress, we usually refer to distress. We don't refer to eustress. Eustress is very good. But distress, when we refer the term stress, it is referring to the negative, distress. So there are physical symptoms, like there are pains in the body, multiple aches in the body, headache, stomach ache, backache, whole body ache. And when the child gets themselves checked up, the medical reports come normal. So it's understood that the problem is not in the reports, it's not in the health, it is psychologically, it is stress. But the pains are not unreal, they are real. And they debilitate the person, they hamper the functionality. These pains are called psychosomatic pains. Now, another is emotional manifestations of stress. What are those emotional manifestations of stress? They are anxiety, depression. So depression is marked by hopelessness, helplessness, anxiety, preoccupation with the future, worried what's going to happen next. All these are manifestations of stress. Behavioral manifestations. What are the behavioral manifestations of stress? Sleep is affected, appetite is affected. It could be in both ways. It could be lack of sleep or sleeping too long. Insomnia, lack of sleep, and hypersomnia is a term used for a person sleeping too long. It could be lack of appetite. Person is not eating at all, or it could be overeating. That is also a cause of stress. So these are the behavioral manifestations. Apart from this, there are cognitive manifestations also of stress. Now, what are those cognitive manifestations? Memory is impaired, concentration is impaired, attention is impaired. When one's concentration is impaired, attention is impaired, when one is not able to focus on the things, how will the memory be good? So memory also gets concurrently affected. So there are various ways of dealing with the stress. There are positive ways, there are negative ways. Negative ways should be avoided. Like negative ways are like alcoholism, tobacco consumption, taking to drugs, and smoking. These are negative coping mechanisms. And what are the positive coping mechanisms? Positive coping mechanisms are exercises, relaxation techniques, yoga, meditation, and pursuing your hobbies. It could be positive psychology interventions also. Like positive psychology interventions, they offer various ways to deal with stress. Like one way is gratitude offering. Count your blessings. Thank God for what you have in life. Don't focus on what is you're not getting. Focus on what you have and be grateful to Almighty. When we thank Lord for something we have, for all the blessings we have, the universe blesses us many folds in abundance. And then there is another way positive psychology intervention is PERMA model. Now, what is this PERMA model? PERMA model, it has 5 words. P, which signifies positive emotions. Positive emotions, those emotions, joys, happiness, gratitude, all these are positive emotions. Take them into consideration. E designates engagement. What are the tasks? Think, what are the tasks which when you engage in, you don't come to know how time passes by. You just enjoy it. You get so absorbed in the task that you don't know how time just flies off. So that is engagement. It could be any hobby of yours. It could be singing, it could be dancing, it could be cooking, it could be grooming, personal grooming. Some ladies, when they feel stressed, they start grooming themselves up. That also relieves stress. There is no harm in that. And then there is after R designates relationships. Value the relationships which are blessings in your life. Count them and say thanks to God for those relationships. They will give you happiness and they will de-stress you. And then is M. What is M? What is the meaning of your life? M specifies meaning of your life. What is the purpose? Think. What is the purpose for which you have come to this world? What is the one thing you would like to be remembered for when you depart from this planet? And when your life's journey is over and you wave bye-bye and just go to Almighty, what is the one thing you would like to be remembered for in the hearts of all people? It could be anything. It could be you would like to be remembered as a good person, like Mother Teresa was a good person. It could be anything. You may like to be remembered for your psychological skills. You may like to be remembered for anything, singing, dancing, anything. But that is meaning of life. Then A. What does A signifies in the PERMA model? That is attachment. Accomplishment. Sorry, accomplishment. Now, what is accomplishment? Count your blessings. What have you accomplished in your life? By the term accomplishment, we don't refer to these academic achievements. No, accomplishment could be anything. It could be a lady giving birth to a child after 15 years of marriage, when she was told that she will not give birth to a child. But after 15 years, suddenly God becomes grateful to her and she gives birth to a child. That is accomplishment. It could be as simple as passing an MA degree or completing a graduation. That is also accomplishment. It could be a housewife who's catering for the whole family, doing her duty as service to the Lord and rendering fruit of that service also to the Almighty, not expecting anything from anyone in return. That is also a very big accomplishment. It could be anything which gives you happiness. When you do that work, you feel happy. That is also accomplishment. So accomplishments, you count all that. All these de-stress you. Then now my question is how parents, next thing is how parents can help the child dealing with stress. This is very important. And for this, every parent, first of all, they should build a very friendly relationship with the child. They should be healthy boundaries, no doubt. But yet, they should be so much friendly to the child that child feels comfortable to converse with them openly and tell them what is troubling him or her. And that will de-stress the child, remove more than 75% of the stress. If parents are very friendly and open with the children won't take that much stress. They will be open to tell their parents everything. They won't need to hide anything from their parents. Then, if some parent finds their child suffering from stress, they should consult the physician, and you should consult the psychologist, counselor, school counselor. And it's very mandatory. And you can involve the teacher also, class teacher. You should help the child recognize the importance of good and healthy friend circle, because more than 95% of stress is caused when your friend circle is not good. Peer pressure, yes, that's also a very common cause of stress. And make child aware of his or her problems and help them to remove them. Help the child, what I mean to say is help the child to overcome their weaknesses and strengthen their strengths. Sometimes the children, they're not aware what are their strengths, what are their weaknesses. The parents should be able to recognize, they should be aware what are the strengths in my child and what are the weaknesses in my child. And they should work on strengthening the strengths and overcoming the weaknesses of the child. Now, next thing is anxiety. Now, anxiety, it is again very common. What is anxiety? First of all, we should know what is the definition of anxiety. What do we mean by anxiety? Anxiety is a preoccupation with some thoughts of future, of which there is no predictability that it will occur or not. It's a worry, apprehension, fear of some uncertain event in the future, which does not have a predictability that whether it will happen or whether it will not happen. One is preoccupied with the future concerns. It's not, the person is not living in now. So that's why they say it's very important to live in the present moment. And there is a famous saying, yesterday is a history, tomorrow is a mystery. So live in now. Anxiety may be mild, moderate, and severe. Those with mild and moderate anxiety, they can function. Function very well in their day-to-day lives. It's not a psychological disorder, but it becomes a disorder when it is severe anxiety. Now, mild and moderate anxiety does not control the person, but severe anxiety, it controls the person. It prevents the person from functioning properly in the day-to-day life. So severe anxiety needs to be treated. It is debilitating, but mild and moderate anxiety is not debilitating at all. Mild and moderate anxiety are psychological states of an individual, but severe anxiety is a disorder. Now, there are various anxiety and stress disorders in DSM-5. What are these disorders? All these are categorized under severe anxiety. So they are panic disorder with agoraphobia, panic disorder without agoraphobia. It is social anxiety disorder. It is generalized anxiety disorder, agoraphobia, specific anxiety disorder. It is post-traumatic stress disorder and acute stress disorder. All these are categorized in DSM-5. And with this, I end my topic. And if someone has any queries, they can ask me. And I would like to thank the organizer of this platform who gave me this wonderful opportunity. Thank you many folds. Anyone has any questions?
Thank you, Dr. Jyoti Makar, for your session. Hope there are no queries as of now, so we shall move on to our feedback. Dear friends, quickly fill the feedback form for session 2 so that we can move on to further session. Any speakers awaiting for their presentations can leave your details in the chat box. Dear participants and friends, quickly fill the feedback form. It is mandatory for the issue of e-certificate. As you all know, that as part of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav celebrations, Sri Holistic Health Foundation India and Sri Research Institute Center for Art Sciences and Wellbeing are organizing a series of international webinars and conferences as part of commemorating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav celebrations and also commemorating various international days by United Nations and its partner organizations like World Health Organization, UNICEF, and various other organizations. Internationally, globally, nationally, regionally, and local commemorations of various significant events across the globe. So if you are a subject expert on any of these sustainable development goals or themes of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, you are invited to make your presentations or talks on any specific themes with prior intimation and registration, subject to approval based on your content and appropriateness of the themes and presentations. Dear friends, quickly fill up the feedback form for session 2. For all your presentations, collaborations, you can contact Dr. Ravindra, myself, and my contact numbers and the email address is available on the website and as well as on the registration forms every day 6 to 8 nowadays, because due to certain limitations it is being organized between 5 and 6, but from next week onwards we'll be having them in regular timing 6 to 8 daily, and Sundays from 11 o'clock till we have till we complete all the commemorations and sessions. It may go to 5 or 6 depending on the number of sessions. Sometimes we conclude early, sometimes it gets delayed based on the number of sessions and the duration of the session. So we invite you all to join these Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav celebrations as a participant, speaker, and presenters. All the certificates are provided online. Those who complete all the formalities, the basic formalities are you have to register as a speaker or as a participant or a presenter for the conference or for the webinar, and you have to attend the webinar or the conference and then provide feedback for each session or overall sessions as applicable. So for some, there may be individual feedback. For some, it may be just overall feedback. So as applicable, you need to provide feedback, and automatically Zoom platform records your attendance, and along with that, the feedback is taken for each session or for the overall webinar or conference, and based on that, your registration, your attendance and feedback, your certificates will be issued. We have a minimum standard time frame of 15 working days, wherein all the e-certificates are updated on the website. You can download your certificates from the website. Certificates are not sent or shared to email or WhatsApp. You have to visit the website. Website address is also shared on registration forms and also in chat box. You have to visit the website and download your certificates after 15 working days. That is the standard time, depending on the, basically on the participants and speakers formalities, because we provide opportunity for everyone. Even though, at times if you are unable to complete formalities, because you will not get opportunity again to present in the conference which is over. So sometimes there is delay when there is some lack of formalities or inability to complete formality in time by the speakers or participants. So that's why we have put this time. Even if you are not registered or willing to present or attending without registration or making a presentation without registration or completing the formalities, you can always go back and complete the formalities. So we have this time also for such issues or concerns. So you can complete one certificate are issued. You will not regenerate any certificate again unless and until there is a special opportunity occasion where we are periodically releasing, giving an opportunity for all the previous participants. But it will take time. It's not like you, whenever you feel like you fill and ask for the certificate. So only if you follow as per the schedule, you are going to get the certificates in time. Otherwise, if under special circumstances, if you are completing the formalities, then certificates are also issued as per the uh, appropriate timelines. So to receive certificates for presentations, participations in time, we request everyone to register, attend, provide feedback, and download your certificates. And there is a minimum attendance criteria for each event. Generally, it is 65% of attendance along with mandatory attendance for inaugural and valedictory. If you are missing the inaugural or valedictory, then you have to maintain at least 75 to 85% of the overall conference. So this is a simple process. Register, participate, attend, provide feedback, and download your certificates from the website. There are no individual intimations that are sent. You have to join various groups available online, like Facebook group or Telegram channel, where you get all the updates regularly. You can also subscribe to our Google Calendar and to receive updates on a regular basis. Hope everyone has filled the feedback form for session 2. Quickly fill up the feedback form. We have 5 minutes for each feedback form, but we are also providing additional time. But do not delay, as this, delay in filling up the feedback form will also delay the overall time of the conference. So let's quickly attend to the feedback form so that we can move on to next session, because sometimes speakers or presenters accidentally close it, and once it is closed we cannot reopen again, because once relaunched the data will be lost. Its platform limitations. So once again you all need to fill the feedback form again. It will be a very tedious job for everyone. So try to complete within 5 minutes of launching the feedback form. And there is no external feedback forms through which we can provide. Once the meeting ends, the feedback process also ends. So once the feedback form is raised, quickly fill up the feedback form. Don't worry if you forget to fill the feedback form, because anyway attendance is being automatically tracked. You can, just in case of any technical problem, you are unable to access or fill the feedback form, you can use the chat box to provide feedback, and later on fill the next feedback form or the overall feedback form. So keep attending the conference. We will move on to our next commemoration for the day. That is World Day of Remembrance for the Road Traffic Victims, in short known as WDR, is commemorated on third Saturday of November each. Third Sunday of November each year. So this year it falls on 20th Sunday. It is a high-profile global event to remember the many millions who have been killed and seriously injured on the world's roads and to acknowledge the suffering of all affected victims, families, and communities. Millions added each year to countless millions already suffering. A truly tremendous cumulative toll. This day has also become an important tool for governments and all those who work involves crash prevention or response to the aftermath of crashes, since it offers the opportunity to demonstrate the enormous scale and impact of road deaths and injuries, call for an end to the often trivial and inappropriate response to road death and injury, and advocate for urgent concerned action to stop the carnage. On the World Day, we too pay tribute to the dedicated emergency crews, police, and medical professionals who deal with the traumatic aftermath of the road crashes. Looking at the history, the World Day has a long history. From 1995, road victim organizations under the umbrella of European Federation of Road Traffic Victims, FEVR in short, observed this day together. First as an European Day of Remembrance, but soon as World Day when NGOs from Africa, South America, and Asia also joined. 10 years later, on 26th October 2005, the World Day was adopted by the UN General Assembly as the first appropriate acknowledgement for the victims of road traffic crashes and their families, to make the World Day officially an independent entity to ensure secure and competent management and a far wider reach through systematic round the year promotion and help and advice to the organization. The World Day was registered as a foundation in August 2021. So now the World Day is commemorated across all continents, not only by NGOs advocating for the road safety and road victims, but also by governments and all related relevant stakeholders. So on this 20th November 2002, Remember, Support, Act. We do not want more victims to remember. We want to live our lives together with the hashtag WDOR 2022 and with the slogan Remember, Support, Act, and with the theme Justice. Let's support and act. This is a decade of safety for action 2021 to 2030. So World Day of Remembrance Foundation, the reason for registering the World Day of Remembrance as a foundation was to make the World Day officially an independent entity, not attached to or associated with any organization, but a standalone body serving all road crash victims and all organizations working for them worldwide. The purpose of foundation is to ensure widest possible awareness throughout the globe of the existence of the World Day of Remembrance for World Road Traffic Victims, a day held on the third Sunday of November every year as appropriate acknowledgement for the victims of road traffic crashes and their families. To engage with relevant actors within the UN member states and the international community and help highlight throughout World Day observance and activities, including via the WDOR website and social media platforms, the continuous global road causally count, profound impact and urgency efforts to halt it. So, based on the UN resolution 60 by 5, improving global road safety, adopted by UN General Assembly on 26 October 2005, invites member states and international community to recognize the third Sunday in November of every year as a World Day of Remembrance for road traffic victims as an appropriate acknowledgement for the victims of road traffic crashes and their families. So various activities include promote worldwide observance of the World Day of Remembrance as recognition and support for road crash victims and all those come to rescue and all those who work reducing and ending road deaths and injuries, engaging with work in partnership with relevant actors with all UN member states and international community to increase knowledge about the World's Day aims, maximize collective commemorations, and mark the World Day of Remembrance most meaningfully. Coordinate the production and sharing of annual promotion materials based on the agreed annual World Day theme, offer to coordinate the agreement of those themes, provide and administer the World Day website and social media platforms, and coordinate the sharing and publication of information on these uh, and from those platforms, communicate throughout the year with World Day events organizers and assist them with information and reminders regarding timely actions to the specific World Day events, publicity, etc., and support plans and constructions for monuments for road traffic victims around the world as a gathering place for World Day events or other road victim related events such as campaigns or memorial ceremonies. So, with this, we shall conclude this commemoration of the day. Today is also commemorated as World Children's Day. And World Children's Day was first established in 1954 as Universal Children's Day, and it is celebrated on 20th November each year to promote the international togetherness awareness among children worldwide and improving children's welfare. November 20th is an important date as it is the date in 1959 when the UN General Assembly adopted the Declaration of Rights of the Child. It is also the date in 1989 when the UN General Assembly adopted the Convention of Rights of the Child. Since 1990, World Children's Day also marks the anniversary of the date of UN General Assembly adopted both the Declaration and Convention on Children's Rights. Mothers and fathers, teachers, nurses, and doctors, government leaders, and civil society activists, religious and community elders, corporate moguls, and media professionals, as well as young people and children themselves, can play an important part in making World Children's Day relevant for their societies, communities, and nations. So, World Children's Day offers each of us inspirational entry point to advocate, promote, and celebrate children's rights, translating into dialogue and actions, and will build a better world for children. So, 2022 theme inclusion for every child. World's Day. Children's Day is UNICEF's annual day of action for children by children, from climate change, education, and mental health to ending racism and discrimination. Children and young people are raising their voices on the issues that matter to their generation and calling for adults to create better future. The World Children's Day is more important than ever than the world listens to their ideas and demands. On 20th November, kids will stand up for a more equal, inclusive world. In aftermath of World War II, the plight of Europe's children was grave, and a news agency created by the United Nations stepped in to provide food and clothing and health care to these children. In 1953, UNICEF became a permanent part of UN. Today, the agency works in more than 190 countries and territories, focusing special effort on reaching the most vulnerable and excluded children to the benefit of all children and everywhere. Today, that is yesterday, 19th November, is also commemorated as World Toilet Day, with the theme groundwater and sanitation, making the invisible visible. World Toilet Day 2022 focused on the impact of sanitation crisis on groundwater. This observance, held annually since 2013, celebrates toilets and raises awareness of 3.6 billion people living without access to safety manage sanitation. It's about taking action to tackle the global sanitation crisis and achieve Sustainable Development Goal 6 sanitation and water for all by 2030. In 2022 campaign, Making the explores how inadequate sanitation systems spread human waste into rivers, lakes, and soil, polluting underground water resources. However, this problem seems to be invisible. Invisible because it happens underground, invisible because it happens in the poorest and most marginalized communities. Groundwater is the world's most abundant source of fresh water. It supports drinking water supplies, sanitation systems, farming, industry, and ecosystems as climate change worsens and populations grow. Groundwater is vital for human survival. The central message of World Toilet Day 2022 is that safely managed sanitation protects groundwater from human waste pollution. Currently, the world is seriously off track to meet the promise of Sustainable Development Goal SDG 6.2 to ensure safe toilets for all by 2030. The campaign urges governments to work on to work on average 4 times faster to ensure SDG 6.2 is achieved on time. Policymakers are also called upon to fully recognize the connection between sanitation and groundwater in their plans to safeguard this vital water resource. So, key messages for the World Toilet Day 2022 is safe sanitation protects groundwater. Sanitation must withstand climate change. Sanitation action is urgent. So toilets that are properly sited and connected to safely managed sanitation systems collect, treat, and dispose of human waste and help prevent human waste from spreading into groundwater. Toilets and sanitation systems must be built to be or adapted to cope up with extreme weather events so that services always function and groundwater is protected. We are seriously off track to ensure safe toilets for all by 2030. So, with only 8 years left, the world needs to work 4 times faster to meet our promise. And 3.6 billion people live without access to safe toilet, as per World Health Organization and UNICEF 2021 report. Groundwater accounts for approximately 99% of all liquid fresh water on the earth, as per report UN Water 2022. Groundwater provides half of all water withdrawn for domestic use, including the drinking water for the vast majority of the rural population, as per UN Water 2022 report. Globally, at least 2 billion people use a drinking water source contaminated with feces, as per report World Health Organization 2019. Every day, over 800 children under age 5 years old die from diarrhea linked to unsafe water, sanitation, and poor hygiene, as per UNICEF 2021 report. So there is no single UN entity dedicated exclusively to water issues. Over 30 United Nations organizations carry out water and sanitation programs reflecting the fact that water issues run through all of the UN main focus areas. So United Nations Water's role is to coordinate them all so that the UN family delivers as one in response to water related challenges. So the UN 2023 Water Conference to be held at United Nations headquarters in New York in between 22nd and 24th March 2023 will be the first of its kind in a generation. The event is a watershed moment to unite the world around ensuring water safety for all. The conference, which is designated to be inclusive, cross-sectional, and action-oriented, will be co-hosted by Tajikistan and Netherlands. So let's all, whoever is preparing, can be part of this conference. So with this, we shall conclude these sessions and for the day, and we'll be joining tomorrow. So quickly fill the overall feedback form. Dear friends, quickly fill up the feedback form. We'll be closing the session in 5 minutes. And based on the attendance and feedback and your registration data, we'll be issuing the certificates in specified period. You can download your certificates from the website. So thank you everyone for joining us for the international conference. And on behalf of Sri Holistic Health Foundation India and Sri Research Institute Center for Art, Sciences and Wellbeing, we thank every one of you for joining us and making it successful. Quickly fill up the feedback form before you leave the platform or before the session gets ended. Have a happy weekend. Take care. Dear friends, quickly fill up the feedback form. Whoever has filled the feedback form can leave the conference after filling up the feedback form. Have a happy weekend. You can visit after specified time on the website to download your e-certificates.